this is perfect. This whole conversation about AI and dead internet and everyone feeling like there's no meaning and everything sucks now. This is all, in my opinion, how you have a relationship with existing in existence. So my levels, philosophy. I saw this amazing video by Britt Hartley today. We're going to use it to have a larger conversation. And I'm going to throw back to my original levels video and show you a snippet from it because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Because I in no way, shape, or form am trying to diminish your fears over the changing world. I'm here to reassure you that it's always been this way, it's always going to be this way, and you're going to be okay. I want you to know you're going to be okay, even if the world is destroyed and even if you die, even if it all ends today. In the same way that every rock, tree, and creature came before you and no longer exists, is okay. Because again, this fear of death that we have is absolutely holding us in captivity. This fear of like the scary is stopping us from doing the right thing. And fear makes you a more bigoted person. Fear makes you more hateful.
Attack like this with your foot out.
And I really don't want to encourage my audience to be more hateful. And everybody right now is so doomer. And I just don't know how this doomer attitude is helping anybody. So be realistic, but be realistic. Be realistic, but be realistic. Be cynical, be whatever, but also like be an optimist, but also be just to have a little balance. What's the point of life? This is the point of life. Okay. Again, I know people want us to promise, and this is what Britt Hartley and I talked about during our conversation together, that Britt is trying to get people to understand, what if nothing matters, but not because nothing matters, but because you feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. Even though we know what we do matters. We know for a fact that if you have a good night's sleep, it matters. We know if you eat well, it matters. We know that we are biological creatures on a planet and everything we do matters. We just are judging the matters so specifically. And I'm saying everything matters, even if it's small. I'm saying, Jordan, here's a who. All life is valuable, even life you can't perceive. Yeah, nothing matters if you only matter if you make $1 million, and I guess nothing matters, but like, I don't need to make $1 million for things to matter. You're making it sound like, well, nothing matters if the world doesn't change. Well, why does the world have to change for something to matter? I think it matters even if the world doesn't change. Okay, look at this video from Britt Hartley I saw today. Let's have the convo.
Most humbling shifts that I've had to make in my spiritual journey is having to choose between truth and well-being and which one to value more. Truth seeking is a high core value for me, and that was also supported in Mormonism when I was a child and Christianity later, at least in the concept of like truth is something good that you should seek. And then when I left religion, I figured that people would want to know the truth, and I was the annoying person in my family that was like sending people podcasts, sending people articles. I would try to even like feel like I needed to save people from religion and that the truth mattered. And then I had a friend who was deconstructing really quickly and didn't have a lot of anchors and support. And in that deconstruction process, he had an attempt on his life. And it was someone who I deeply cared about. And what it challenged me is that if I'm over here in atheist land saying the truth is what's important, I don't care the harm that it causes. And the religious people are over here saying this is the truth, I don't care the harm that it causes. Then we're essentially two sides of the same coin, and I was no better than the religious people that I was fighting against. And that was really humbling for me, that the same thing that I was doing as an apologist was the exact same thing that I was doing on the atheism side of things. And the question that I had to face was, does truth matter more than well-being? And in my body, I really wanted truth to matter more, but ethically, I felt better about saying well-being matters more than truth. And if most people don't have the privilege or the psychology or the anchors to be able to survive nihilism, where you deconstruct everything all the way down to the bottom, and if that would actually not raise their quality of life or their well-being, then I can't be so willy-nilly about pulling people's faith away or pushing people towards the void. And so if you watch my content and you pay attention, there are sometimes I will meet you in the void and validate you and provide resources or at least help you feel seen. But I actually don't produce a lot of content that pushes people out onto the ledge of the void. And it was interesting that Alex O'Connor asked the same question to Sam Harris, saying like, hey, do we really know that people can survive without religion, without these delusions that actually help people be more psychologically healthy? And Sam said, if I could know that humanity wouldn't survive without religion, I would pull all the books off of my shelf and I would just work to make religion better for people rather than trying to help people kind of build outside of religion. And so this is my message more to an atheist audience. If you really feel like truth matters, which I still do, I really feel like truth matters, but you're doing it in a way where you're unaware of the ethics of where you could be causing harm to people who may decrease their well-being for themselves and the world if they were to lose certain ideas or certain anchors, then we have to be more ethical, because if we're not, we're doing the same thing that religious people do. And that's kind of a humbling look in the mirror. It's the same concept as most atheists that I know have some kind of grandma where they don't push on their faith because they don't think they'd be able to survive without it, and they feel like it would be cruel to do so. So I absolutely think that individuals can create lives of meaning and purpose and morality outside of religion. I think, like Nietzsche, that individuals can do that, but most of humanity would struggle with it. And if that is true, and if it's more ethical to value well-being over truth, then what we have to say is we have to make religion better for the people who are still in it, and we have to make secularism better for the people who are outside of it. So for me, that means...
Hold on, let me pause it really fast to say she's absolutely spitting right now, and I can't wait to show you this old levels video where I tried to say the same thing but in a very less eloquent way. I've gotten so much better at communicating. Wait until you see old Brittany trying to communicate. Girl, she's a mess. Maria, thank you so much for the super chat. Girl, I see you, and thank you for being a member. So glad to make it to another live. Thanks for helping us introspect and grow. Hey, thank you as well, because remember, as we have these conversations, as I too struggle with my own introspection, extrospection, this dialogue helps everybody. I win, you win, we win. Community wins, right? So I appreciate you guys as much as I hope you appreciate me, right?
Critiquing religions from the outside, because outside pressure on religion actually really does make positive changes in religion for the people who are still in religion. And it means trying to make tools more available in the secular world so that people have more tools and resources when they're not in religion. So critiquing religion isn't because I've made Christianity or Mormonism my personality. It's as far as my own personal life, it plays very little into my life. It's not something that I'm triggered by. It's not something that I spend a lot of time thinking on. But by critiquing those religions because I know them the best, that's actually the best way to make religion healthier for the people who I love who are still in it. And when you look at people like in Mormonism, it would be John DeLynn in Mormon Stories. He has actually produced more change to make the church healthier from the outside by critiquing it than anyone trying to do change from within. And not just change to be like, I was right about something. I mean, change that makes Mormon lives healthier for the people who are in Mormonism. At the end of the day, well-being has to matter more than truth. And when you have that as your guiding principle, it will change how you approach religion and religious people.
And politics and everything else you do. So if you move over, the comment right here says, I understand this. I would say that they don't, because they're following with, but if their beliefs are hurting societies at large, what if being surrounded by misogynists is directly impacting me? How do you move into that space? So first of all, what Britt is saying is a little bit, it's not the beginning stage. So it is a really difficult thing to understand. I'll show you an old video where I tried to explain it much worse. But it is difficult to make people understand. And this is why people are upset with me sometimes, because you'll hear me say, like, you cannot change people's minds. You cannot force people to change. You cannot shame people into changing. You can only encourage tool gathering and tool building to inspire them to change naturally. You cannot force people to see the truth. Truth is discovered. It's discovered, which means people have to go looking for it so they can come upon it and be like, oh my God, this truth. If people aren't seeking, if they're not curious, you cannot shove it down their face. They won't hear you. So, okay, look at this Brittany here. This is my original levels video. Okay, and she tries to explain, let me change the ratio here. She tries to explain the levels in a way that was like, I was trying to be very concrete. I was trying to be very focused. This was right here, September 18th, 2020. Okay, I posted this video, and let me switch it up here. I remember when I had made this video about the initial levels, I didn't attempt to appeal to anybody. When I made this video, I didn't try in any way to care about who was listening to it. I just wanted the right people to hear it and the right people to understand. And I really appreciated the amount of like fearlessness I went in making this video. You know, it's a 19-minute video on the levels, right? We're not going to watch the whole thing, just the segment. But I was, you know, I've changed a lot in 5 years, 2020, 5 years. I've changed a lot in 5 years, right? But this is what chat says the levels, that levels video was locked me into your channel. A lot of people really liked this levels video. And I do think, in my opinion, that certain people who ended up finding my content really understood it because they were at a place where they could really digest it. But if you look at the comment section of that video, it has like 50,000 views and like 99% of the comments are like, "You're fucking stupid self." And I'm like, okay, okay. And a lot of them came from like the boy bubbles, but I was like, okay, like they were so mad at me for this video. The boy bubbles were so mad at me for this video. They were so, it called me a narcissist, kill yourself, this is the worst video ever. She thinks she should, oh my God. Like, just like, it's kind of crazy. But this segment of the video completely mirrors what Britt Hartley is saying in that TikTok. So just check out this segment. I'm trying to explain the conversation I often have with my siblings, or specifically my Catholic brother, who, you know, I've discussed the levels with as well. But look at this segment. I'll explain it as we go. But in order to do those things, you have to leave your bubbles. So as an example, I actually shared this philosophy with a religious person. And they said, well, if you think you're so right, then tell me the answers. And I said, well, the truth cannot be taught. Otherwise, I would just make a YouTube video and everyone would understand me. And here I am trying it, but it's not going to work, and that's okay. But it needs to be discovered. Truth needs to be discovered. And I said, in order to find the truth, you have to leave your bubble. But because this person is religious, they're not allowed to do anything against their religion that would upset God. And therefore, will never leave their bubble in order to find truth. Religion is a structure created to bring comfort, consistency, and community. These are the things humans need to live. They need structure, community, and consistency. And the sciences showed you that religion actually offers you those things. Religious people live longer, they're happier overall. And usually religious people use this as a haha, see, God is real. But all that tells me is religion works. From a scientific perspective, it allows you an opportunity to examine your life in a meaningful way. As I went on talking with these religious people, they were so excited to talk to me about this, and we had a lot of fun discussing it. But it also became increasingly clear that they would never understand what I was talking about, because the way that you get into level 3 is you have a moment in your life. Some people call it wokeness, but I would argue that wokeness actually exists in the level 2s. Level 3s are a little bit above that. They're kind of like that moment in the Matrix where you get an opportunity to think of the world as one way or another. This is so much funnier. Sorry, President Brittany talking now. This is so much funnier in hindsight that I use the Matrix as an example, since the red pillars completely dominated that metaphor. This is so much funnier now. Like, because this is pre-Tate. You have to understand, at this time, I don't think I knew who Andrew Tate was. I don't even think he was on the internet. I'm pretty sure not, because I'm in the downstairs bedroom. By the time Tate got on my radar, I was in the upstairs bedroom. So the fact that like I used the Matrix as the example before I was even aware of like the red pills that we know them today is so much funnier. Okay, back to old Brittany. That metaphor definitely exists, but if you take it to a certain place, it just puts you back in level 2. So level 3 are the people who examine the world and see the kind of Truman Show-esque part of existence. But to go to a level 4 is darkness. There's no proof of anything safe there. So they hesitate, often driving themselves into madness, not choosing. You have to choose. I actually had experiences where level 3s that I knew did go insane because they couldn't handle having to make that choice. So they defaulted to 2. Okay, so this is the part that I want to point out. So just reminding us of why we're watching this video, Britt Hartley said you can't just take truth away from people because it might drive them to unalive, right? This is what I'm trying to explain to people, is that introspection can cause you to want to unalive because it sends you into a nihilistic spiral. And without the right grounding, instead of actually becoming more introspective and heading into sort of like an acceptance, you go in the opposite direction. And this is why it's really difficult to force people into seeing the truth. Because like when you can't, like this Brittany said, if I could just make a YouTube video and be like, hey, this is the truth. And everyone was like, whoa, amazing. Truth is a lived process. It's a lived experience. It's a discovery, right? So even with the levels, I'm not inventing something new. I'm explaining something I discovered, something that existed outside of me that I came across, right? So that's what this Brittany is trying to explain. And people got so angry at me when I made this video initially because they were like, oh, you want people to kill themselves? It's like, no, I want people to not kill themselves. That's the thing. It's like, I was going to kill myself for most of my life because of depression, because of bigotry, because I was queer, because of all these things. And the more I found out, like, the more I realized about the world, the more I wanted to die, because the more I realized about reality, I was like, uh-oh, this is not good. I don't want to do this anymore. And now that I'm on the other side of it, which is where, you know, I want everyone to be, whether they're 2 or 5, I want you to be on the other side of that nihilistic journey. I want you to wake up every day happy and go to bed every day happy. I want you to really be joyful. I want you to be, you know, excited for life. I want you to look at the chaos of the world and fucking, you know, like, just be chill with it. Because, you know, even though it's stressful, and God knows there's stress. Okay, girls, like, that is not, I'm not trying to take away your stress. I'm trying to take away that little thought in your brain that says we should kill ourselves because we're so stressed. Because I have that intrusive thought. My brain goes, we should kill ourselves. And I'm like, we're not going to kill ourselves. And I'm like, but look how stressed we are. I'm like, nobody has time to kill themselves, girl. We are not going to do that. My brain, if your brain is like mine, goes like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. This is too much. People can't suffer. People can't survive this. This is too much. Right? And I'm saying, what if you could get to the point where it doesn't feel like too much anymore? Okay, let's go back to old Brittany, but in sort of an unhealthy way, which is interesting, versus a peaceful way. And then you could be a level 3 that goes on to a level 4. That's all a level 3 is. It's a stage, it's a bridge level. There's nothing more to it. You either have to choose level 2 or level 4. Once you've made the decision to go to level 4, you can never again be a level 2. Level 4s are people who examine the world, understand the hierarchies, understand exactly what it means to be a part of subgroup. It acknowledges that we're animals on a planet. It acknowledges that there is no God. It just acknowledges the most real reality of existence, but it has no God under the, see, the reason I had to update this video is because, like, not that there is no God, but there is no God in the construct that man has created that we have evidence for. Not to say that there is not a God that might exist outside the construct that man has created. Okay, actually, I think that's all I want to show you from that video. Shout out to Past Brittany, okay? So the point of this, going back to Britt Hartley's video, right, is to try to explain that correlation between a desire to make the world see life our way, right? Like this commenter says, you know, what if I'm surrounded by misogynists and it's directly impacting me? You need to remove yourself from that environment, but you cannot get a misogynist to change their mind automatically and be like, you know what? I think women are created the same as man. Like, that's not what's going to happen, right? It's not going to go that way. It's not. And you're going to spend your whole life, especially as people raised women in the planet, we are conditioned to literally sacrifice our happiness and our well-being for the sake of people who will never budge. Right? And so I just want you to free yourself from the constraint raised under patriarchy that has convinced you, especially as AFAB people, that you are obligated to dedicate your life to these people that will never change. Now, that doesn't mean you can't play the role you're supposed to play in the story. You see this, I'm very open and transparent with how I play a role in my own family dynamics. And I know my place. I learn my place every day. I learn the new place I'm supposed to take every day. But it's not about at the expense of myself. It's about helping the family, but not at the expense of myself. Helping myself, but not at the expense of the family. Okay? So how do we do that? Because instead we're really taught, I can't tell you how many Christian women I have met who are in abusive relationships where their men can't even, you know, wash their own clothes or make their own coffee. And so their wives never get a vacation, never get to hang out with their girlfriends. And I'm like, divorce him. And they're like, I can't. It's a part of the structure. It's what I'm supposed to do as a woman. You're one life on earth and you can't go on vacation because your man can't make coffee, girl? Come on now, right? Okay. Let's see. Chat says I'm late to stream. Can someone link or tell me what the levels are referring to? Links in the description for my level system. I see you guys trying to help. It is my own framework and I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. Discord said now Brittany talks about old Brittany, kind of like talking about a little sister. I mean, isn't she though? Isn't your past self just like a little version of you? Do you know the movie 13 going on 30? Have you guys seen this like TikTok trend where it's like looking at myself, realizing I really became that girl? There's this like infamous scene in the movie where she's in the elevator and this little girl is looking at her and she's like, man, I want to be like you when I'm older. That kind of energy. That's what it feels like. Where every day I get older, I look down at past Brittany and I'm just like, because that Brittany could not believe we're here. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, Brittany, 30 years ago, Brittany, could not believe we would be here. And I really am here. And so I just, again, I think I want to be hopeful. I want to be optimistic, and I want to be realistic. I want you to know that it is very hard to be a good person, and it is even harder to be introspective, extrospective. And so give yourself credit for getting this far, because it's really freaking hard. It's really hard. Okay. So truth, yes, matters, but truth is also layered. There's the sort of tangible truth. There's a truth that exists outside of our consciousness. There's the truth that exists within our consciousness. There's the truth that exists within our thoughts. My thoughts are true thoughts, but not all my thoughts are true thoughts. It's like these tiny contradictions is what it means to be a person, which is why it is so hard to be a person. Look at the conversation yesterday we were having about AI. And I was explaining the ways I'm not attached to the outcome of AI. And then some people were in chat, like this one person said something like, oh, so you're okay with people like basically re-uploading all your content. It's like, well, there are rules. Like you still have to put in rules. They're like, well, who makes the rules? We do as a collective. That's the point. We do as a collective. It's a group project, girlies. It's a group project, and we're either going to succeed or fail together, but it's a group project, right? Chat says, can someone get stuck at level 3 limbo? Yeah, I think a lot of the 3s that I know end up kind of going back to a 2 bubble and attaching themselves to that outcome. It's a little hard for me to know really where everybody is at, because even when I'm guessing people's levels, unless I'm having really deep conversations with them, a lot of it is sort of like superficially guessing. So some of the 3s that I know have just really latched on to 2 bubbles. But let me tell you, these 3s that latch onto the 2 bubbles, they're either very, very happy or very, very stunted. And it's very interesting to watch, because lots of joyful 2s exist. 100%, billions and billions of joyful 2s exist. But the people who I think get stuck aren't stuck because they know there's something more. They're stuck because of their own moral failing, which is like very interesting. But I think 3 is just, I know there's something more, but I'm not gonna play with it. I'm not gonna tempt fate, right? It's kind of like knowing, if you read the recipe, you might actually get better at cooking the bread. But if you read the recipe, then maybe you'll have to read the recipe every time, and you'd rather just kind of wing it and accept your own failure. It's almost like taking on the responsibility of knowing better, in a sense, which is why I think people go back to being like, I don't want to know. I'll just, even if they're fucking up, better the fuck up I know than having the responsibility of something else to an extent. Yeah, does that answer that question? Okay, any thoughts on this topic, and does this resonate? And I think using Britt's work is really helpful because it's another person saying it. Now, of course, because we're both women, there's going to always be like women, you know what I mean? But I think mostly she says it really, really well, and it adds like another layer of understanding to exactly this problem I've been trying to explain, that introspection and meditation is dangerous. Like shrooms. You know how shrooms can either lead you to a great self-awareness, or it can kind of make you crazy? Introspection is like drugs. Either drugs are the greatest thing that's ever happened to you, or you've lost your job and now you can't function, and now you're, not having a great time. It's like, they're both things, right? Chet says, when your past self said, once you're a 4, you can't be a 2 ever again. Was that a literal statement? Yeah, from everything I've seen so far, it would be very hard for a 4 to be a 2. Now, some of the people that I've guessed were 4s, mostly men. So funny enough, there's no, I think they're all pretty much men. But there is a couple people that I have guessed were 4s. But in hindsight, they're either 2s who were really good at convincing me they were 4s, but by the minimal dialogue we had, or they were 2s that I was convinced was 4s because I didn't have the right data. But it's confusing to me because, again, I have to have really, really in-depth conversations with people to know. So a lot of the work, again, is guessing, because only you know what's in your head. You can lie to me. So when people give me information, I'm kind of trusting their information, right? And so when I'm like, well, maybe you're a 4, it's like, I can't know that. Only you can know, because you're the only person who can lie to yourself and therefore lie to me, right? So even if somebody comes to me and they're really feeling authentic, everything is feeling very transparent, and they're communicating really well, at the end of the day, I don't know how embodied it is versus just like logical, or, and again, the more I talk, the more is revealed. That's why I say, like, be careful of the people trapped in their own brains. Like Alex O'Connor is a good example. Again, not to talk mad shit on Alex or anything, but Alex is so in his head that you know what? It's obvious after watching hours and hours and hours and hours of his content where he is. But for other people, it's less obvious to an extent. But I think there's this idea because I sometimes am like, no, you're not a 5, or no, you're not. Yes, you're a 2. And sometimes I'm very like, this is my opinion of your level. But it's just based off of like the data, and the data can change. But that's what I wonder, because, you know, I do have people in my life that I'm like, you're a 4, right? But then they attach themselves so strongly to the 2 bubble, but I can tell they're not joyful. So then it's like, if you're attaching yourself so hard to this 2 bubble and you're not joyful, why aren't you being introspective about it? Is it like, are they so deep in the nihilistic journey of the 4 nihilist for this versus the 2 nihilist that they can't escape it? Or are they just coping so hard I can't decide? I don't know, right? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, coping can be a lie that feels authentic to the person holding it. Exactly. Which is why they're the only person who can lie to themselves and therefore lie to me. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people I have had amazing introspective conversations with, but then there's no follow through. You know? That's what's so fascinating, is like, where's the follow through? And that's really what I find a lot in the debate bro bubble as an example. Like all these philosophical boys with special interests, and there's no follow through. Where is the follow through? Okay. Did you guys recently hear Peterson's sick again? I don't know the details, but just to think about that idea that Peterson is sick again is so interesting. Is this a physical sickness or a mental sickness? What is he struggling from? Peterson is a great example of somebody who's so upheld to a particular standard, but his life is just so like, it's so interestingly negative. And again, this isn't to kick a man down, you know what I mean? You know, but like, his daughter says spiritual attacks. Hold on. I wanted to watch this video. Let's do it in relation to this topic, actually, because I actually think this would be a really good jumping off point to understand. Because Peterson, I just don't like. You don't want to be a Peterson. I'm sorry. You want to be like a Dr. K, but you don't want to be a Peterson, because at the end of the day, like, Peterson is just, he's always lost. Another part of Peterson that's interesting is that while he is sick, obviously in the head, he's also sick in his own body, right? Like his own diet, his own relationship with life, his own sort of the way he manifests, the way he shows up talking about climate change and his diet and eating meat, like none of it is showing me joy. Okay, so here's Michaela. Let's see how her dad's doing, because I have a feeling it's related.
I'm just going to read this. It's on my teleprompter because this is too hard to explain off the cuff, so I wrote it out. This summer has been exceedingly difficult. Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis after dealing with a host of neurological issues this summer.
How do you get, what does that mean? Isn't sepsis, wait, is that something, am I confused?
That we believe stem from SIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome due to decades of mold exposure.
What?
We don't have a better explanation for his neurological symptoms at the moment other than.
Yeah, sepsis is an infection of the blood. It's like a really big deal. But she's saying that, I mean, mold is a killer, bro. Mold really is a killer. But isn't he rich? Why has he got mold in his house? That's so interesting.
Spiritual attacks.
What?
We don't have a better explanation for his neurological symptoms at the moment other than spiritual attacks.
You were not kidding, chat. Her mom recently converted to Catholicism. So, you know, the witches got him. The witches on Etsy got him. Yeah, how unserious. This just got, see, I want to be empathetic. Oh my God, sepsis, that's like a big deal. Spiritual attacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we talking about?
He's been suffering for the last number of years with unexplainable neuropathy and weakness, amongst other symptoms.
The man is, he is literally Ethan Kleining himself. Ethan, I know I'm sick, but these spiritual attacks, they're coming from the Etsy witches and I don't even know what to do about it. But you would know, Ethan, you know that scar, that little zombie wound you got in your arm there? What'd you do to that? How'd that happen? Because I'm really feeling it in the inside. Like, I want to help. I want to be empathetic, but I can't. Please be a grown-up. The same man that lectures the world, the same man that attacks trans people, the same man that attacks everybody else. And he's literally spiraling from what? Sepsis for the spiritual attack? Come on, girl. See how my sympathy and empathy has... How can I give it to a man that, like, at the end of the day, dedicated the last 5 years to absolutely attacking and going after everybody, driving himself insane. And now his own daughter with a full chest is full, like on her, not a full chest, she's coming out here with her chest held high. You know what I'm saying? Literally being like spiritual attacks. Girl.
But they worsened this summer after he cleaned out his parents' basement after his dad, my grandpa, passed away.
Was he wearing his mask? I'll tell you, we've been deep cleaning the house and the dust sends me into a frenzy. Okay, gotta wear a mask.
We weren't able to communicate with Dad really all of September. During the end of the pneumonia, he was diagnosed with critical illness polyneuropathy, which we're hoping is critical illness myopathy, which is bad enough. That's been heartbreaking and brutal on top of everything else. But after almost a month in the ICU, he's been moved out to a less urgent floor. Praise God for that. We're still in the midst of this, but now we're seeing improvements daily. The timeline for his full recovery is hard to tell at the moment, and I'll update everyone when we have more information. My family's asking for prayers. Like I said, this summer's been exceedingly difficult and terrifying. Dad's condition is complicated by the fact he can't take most medications without suffering from severe paradoxical reactions, which limits treatment options.
Yeah, this man is the embodiment of unwise suffering. Like, getting sick is so real. But the irony is he's been so anti-science the last few years. He's been so anti-doctors. He's been so focused on voodoo and magic that instead of like actually attaching himself to these scientific bubbles that could have helped him and we could have like been very invested, he sent out complete misinformation, science information, COVID misinformation, vaccine misinformation for the last like 5 years. You know what I mean? So I'm not that surprised he's sick. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's his fault, obviously. I'm saying it's the symptom and the condition and the consequence of rejecting all of the data because you're paranoid. And that's sad. You know what I mean? Chat says maybe his illnesses are the reason he's becoming so anti-medicine. TMM in the chat. Maybe he has like a severe issue that's causing him to be like, you know what I mean? Anti-medical intervention. You know, yeah, maybe this is like when Steve Jobs chose alternative medicine over actual treatment. Yeah, I heard that's what killed him. You know, it's just, you know, that's so interesting to me. I think when people, this is why I say, can we please bring this back to introspection? See how it's not just a position of privilege? This man is in the most privileged position you could ever be in. The most privileged position. And you see how it's not enough without the introspection? Without the introspection, extrospection, without the humility, you cannot get better. It becomes this, I'm being spiritually attacked. Girl, please be so for real right now. And you know how many billions of people believe in this stuff? They believe in literal demons. They believe in spiritual attacks. They believe like the devil lives in your home. I grew up with parents who believe in this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. This man is in the most privileged position you could ever be in. And instead of getting the help he needs, he's going to double down into the wrong medical bubble. It's sad. It's sad how many people are falling for his shtick and getting led astray as well. How many people will get sick and die because they're listening to wrong scientific information about health? Crazy.
Like I mentioned, I believe there's a spiritual element at play here.
Oh my God,
I think
girl.
a lot of people have felt it in the last few weeks and months. It's been hitting my dad and my family hard this summer.
Are they in a cult? Please just tell me right now. Are they in a fucking cult? I heard people had the theory that there was like Munchausen's involved here. Maybe they're all just fucking Gypsy Rose over here. Like, what are we talking about here? Are you guys in a literal cult? I can't have any empathy. I just don't care, bro. There are so many people, billions of people are dying. Excuse me. Peterson said to Netanyahu, give them hell. The Palestinian people have been genocidated for 2 years, and Jordan Peterson had the audacity to tweet, give them hell, Netanyahu. Yeah, I don't have much empathy, girl.
In August, the day Dad was brought to a hospital
by the way, do not wish him ill. I wish him healing and everything. I wish him the absolute best. I wish him healing and recovery. I wish Jordan Peterson and every person on this planet absolute joy and healing. But in this moment, just like with Charlie Kirk, you are not about to see me have embodied empathy for people who spend their whole life being bigoted and spreading misinformation that's going to hurt people. So my sympathies, but not my empathies.
Ambulance. My newborn Audrey was also brought to a hospital by ambulance within hours of each other. It was unbelievable.
So your baby and your dad had to go to the hospital because of a spiritual warfare that's happening. Okay, girl.
This was the second time this summer we had brought Audrey to the hospital after she almost died from near heart failure at 6 weeks old. That is exceedingly
Jesus.
rare, and they couldn't find a cause for. She was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary hypertension, which seems to have resolved, praise God. But it's not something that happens.
What?
No, this
That's
was
so sad.
late July after Dad and I recorded some episodes of the call-in show together. Everything went just really downhill fast after.
What is, guys, if everybody in your house is sick, you gotta, this is an emergency. Your baby is sick. Your dad is sick. Do y'all live together? I'm so confused. She literally thinks what, spiritual, like she's got a curse on her or something? Is she saying like God is like, somebody is like, you know what I'm saying? Your baby and your father and everybody's sick. And you know, she's been sick her whole life. That's so interesting. Chet says chronic illnesses do tend to run in the family. Really? I mean, I guess I'm the only one in my family with fibro. It's been interesting. When I got diagnosed, I called everyone and no one said they had it, though I do theorize that some people had it and didn't know. You know what I mean? This is so weird. Oh, chat says Michaela is evangelical Christian. Oh, wow. I believe so. Spiritual warfare shit makes sense. Oh, that's interesting. Because her mom is Catholic, but she's evangelical Christian. That's interesting.
God, every single day this summer and now fall has been like watching a movie. Our family's relying heavily on the Lord through this and seeing miracles around us. We are. And I'm also aware that God uses everything for good.
Oh, brother.
So eventually we'll see why this is happening or what comes of it. But Mom and I in particular really wanted to reach out and ask for prayers to help everyone get through this, especially for my dad and for my mom, but also for the nurses and doctors taking care of him, my brother, and family and friends who have come to support us. I miss my dad. My brother misses his dad. My mom misses her best friend and husband. Oh, man. I thought I wasn't going to cry during this.
The family feels a little codependent. I'm going to be real. The family feels a little enmeshed. And you know what I mean? It feels a little codependent. You would be saying, Brittany, this is her father and he's sick. Why aren't you being empathetic? Because I know Jordan Peterson. Because I've watched Maps of Meaning. Because I've seen all his content. Because I've seen her content. I'm telling you right now, I've seen way too much of this family. I've seen her mother. I've watched her mother's YouTube channel. I've watched way too much of this family not to know there's some fucking codependence happening. Everybody works together. They're all together. Her dad is basically like a cult leader. Okay, yes, they are unreliable narrators. I'm sorry, they are. I agree, chat. They are unreliable narrators. I don't believe anything they say because everything they've said that we have proved is wrong, they never own up to. Jordan Peterson has been debunked time and time again. Okay, he gets credit where he's right. But especially when it comes to science and when it comes to sickness, this man is basically a conspiracy theorist. And if you've known anybody in your family who's a conspiracy theorist and who's always sick, they're hypochondriacs. They are sick, but it's not in the way that they think. Demons, spiritual warfare, curses. You are sick, Habibi. It's just not the way you think. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying he's not sick. I'm just saying he is sick, but in ways he would never own up to. And he's taking it out on everybody else. So because Jordan is sick and suffering, we have to suffer with him. Talk about unwise suffering.
Well, he's hopefully recovering. And like I said, I'll keep people updated. He has a team of people, including myself, continuing his mission, including Peterson Academy, and will be releasing his We Who Wrestle with God tour to everyone on YouTube, which he's wanted to do for a long time.
Cool. So he's sick. Also, like, check out my course. Got it. Mikey, thank you so much for the super chat and membership. It's hard to have empathy for people who have none, for people they view as other or evil. You know, it's like one of those things where had this happened, you know, even when he first got sick, I think we were so much more empathetic. right? I think eventually you just get tired. He's like Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. And it's just like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Real people are being killed. A genocide is happening. I'm tired. I can't keep distracting myself and my resources for this kid who's screaming that the sky is falling. I'm tired. And there are so many people who need help right now. And this rich millionaire in a position of privilege is taking everybody's resources and time. Why make this video? You know what I mean? You didn't even have to make it. You could have just waited. But it's like, hey, my dad is really sick and I'm really scared. Also, like, we're going to put out this new YouTube thing. You could have just disappeared for a few months and said you needed private time. Chad said, did she get Republican fillers? What happened to her face? It looks different. You know, earlier in the stream when I was going to say something and then I went like this and I wasn't going to say it. I was going to say her and Blair White obviously go to the same doctor. Listen, it's a look. It's a thing. I actually like it, if I'm going to be honest with you. But this girl getting stuff done. And you know what? Honestly, last night, or was it the day before? Before I fell asleep, I said to my partner, I wish my lips were bigger. So I get it. I don't even care, girly. I just think it's funny. You know, Chad said, you and your giant jug of water. It used to be a coconut oil jar. I bought a big thing of coconut oil because I use it to keep my teeth white. It really works, you know? And then I converted it. I converted it into a glass of water, girl. Save. You know, everything you end up getting ends up going in a landfill. So I love recycling mason jars. But all of this to say, you know, I'm not here to slam anyone for plastic surgery. I just think it's so interesting that these traditional evangelical girlies who talk about like God and spirituality are also out here getting their lips filled. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just feels very hypocritical in a sense. But, you know, whatever. No judgment.
And given we think there's a spiritual element at play here, we believe the right way to fight back is to keep going and push harder, if anything.
Hold on. Pause. Chad said, how can you like that disgusting plastic look? It looks so fake and unnatural. That was really rude. Because you're probably ugly as fuck. So who are you to say it's disgusting? Humans are not that cute. You need to back off with your language, sir. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but humans ain't that cute. So, like, it doesn't matter what you think is disgusting. I don't know why you need to come out here and be so rude about it. And if you don't say sorry, I'm going to block you. Okay? So I better see a sorry in my chat, bro, or I'm blocking you. Because that was uncalled for.
Life isn't necessarily supposed to get easier when you're doing the right thing. And I can see God's hand throughout this, but it's a lot to handle. My family agreed or wanted to delay updating everybody because a lot has happened over the last few months. And we were hoping he would recover faster and we would see bigger improvement.
Okay, well, this is why she said they did delay it already, but she didn't want to wait any longer.
Sooner and have better news. And it was really a near-death experience for a long time. So we've been just dealing with this one day at a time. We still are. It's been overwhelming, but it looks like, and we're praying that things are headed in the right direction. He's out of the ICU. So that's the main thing. He's out.
At least he's going to the doctor, like someone said in chat, right? At least he is going to the hospital, which is good.
The ICU. Like I said, praise God for that. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you to everybody who's reached out. I'll be back on YouTube maybe in the next month or so, depending on how things go. Yeah, that's the update. Thanks, guys.
Do you guys think this is fake news? Do you guys think it's, someone said fake news? I don't know that it's
Hey,
fake
guys.
news. I think it's obviously happening.
I have an update on my dad.
The man is literally always sick. You know what I mean? The man is literally always sick. Hey, person, I didn't see you apologize fast enough, and I know you've had time, so you're blocked. Oh, I love blocking people. It's my favorite pastime. You had your chance. Okay, I didn't see no apology. Let's see. Chat, the pinned, or not the pinned, but the most upvoted comment says, your father saved me in 2017, homeless veteran, divorced, addicted, and hopeless. He inspired me and gave me the tools I need to rebuild myself and my life. I'm praying for Jordan. He is the father to millions that had none. Listen to me when I say this, or had one. Never had one. Let me tell you this, okay? There was a time when Jordan Peterson was very helpful. There was a time. He has become increasingly unhelpful. Sorry, not beautiful. The last thing I want to see on my timeline of Instagram hottie baddies, okay, is a fatty. Okay, if I'm going to see a baddie, she can't be a fatty. Okay, Jordan Peterson 2025. Get it, West Side. Crack myself up. Oh, man. Okay, listen. He's so stupid. I hate men, bro. Just kidding. I love them. Just kidding. That was inappropriate. Listen. I love men. I just, the audacity to be like, sorry, not beautiful. Jordan, sit down, Jordan. So rude. You know what I mean? Man. So anyways, I wish him the best, happy and healing. But this is exactly why I say, even if you are privileged, it doesn't mean you'll be introspective. Okay? Is Jordan Peterson becoming a one? Bro. Jordan going straight down that, route to oneness. I'm telling you, bro. He's going to be useless to himself and his community pretty fucking fast here. I wonder if that's what's going to happen. It's very possible. It's very fucking possible. Let me tell you. I guess we'll see. You know what I mean?